So what is the truth core? What's the truth core? Well, the truth core is something different than truthers or truther patriot movement or any number of different definitions that could be applied to some of those in the alternative media. So truth core would be something more of like an army, a real army of Kalika warriors. Truth core. So when you hear the term truth core, you know that that person's real. That person is not controlled by any kind of agenda or is not influenced by any kind of deep covert operation of deception. That some are buying into, and even those that are doing it are useful idiots because they don't really have a clue. They're coming from non-warrior status. How would they even be able to define what a warrior is unless they've experienced some kind of face-to-face aggression, shall we say? I mean, even on a mock level, let's say just in a dojo, face-to-face aggression. I mean real aggression, pulling no punches. In a dojo, in a training format. Or how about in real life? How many people have faced or come face-to-face with an adversary that meant them harm, that meant to beat them to a pulp or take their life or all of the above? How many people have come into that situation in their life? I am of the opinion and it's just my opinion, take it for what it's worth. I am of the opinion that unless you have come face to face with physical violence, then there is no way in hell that you're going to be able to discern when that same type of energy is coming at you from, let's say, a higher covert level. How the hell are you going to discern what an aggression is? I mean a real aggression. As opposed to just something that's happening in the world, man. Look at what's going on in the world. Well, you know, do they really look at what's going on in the world? Do people really look at what's going on in the world? What's surrounding them? Do they actually feel a threat? An intrusion into their space, an intrusion into their wingspan. How about an intrusion into other people's wingspans? Wingspans meaning, like I said in my last video, that space around you that is non-intrusive. What does it mean to face an adversary? I mean, a face-to-face thing. Let's say two guys are on you. Let's say that you're in a situation where you're carrying on with your life and you were approached by two predators, aggressors that mean you harm and want to beat the fuck out of you. What do? Well, if you're a trained warrior, you would use any means necessary to defend yourself. Or if you're not a trained warrior, let's say you're a kid or whatever, and you haven't got to that stage, well, you would just take the beating and hope that you survive. You would take the beating and hope that you survive. Well, is that a good feeling? Is that a good feeling, you think, to take a beating and just survive? If you think that, then you're not a true warrior. A true warrior gets to the point where he takes so many beatings and faces so much aggression that he develops a second nature to his consciousness. A second nature to the consciousness. And that second nature is out and out survival and fighting for your life. Now, most people don't realize they can't extrapolate that concept into real life or into the world that surrounds them. They're a bunch of wimps, and that's a pretty harsh term. I've said other things like morons and wimps, but they're in la-la land, basically. They're in la-la land. La-la-la-la-la, oh well. Somebody will save us. God wins. It's pretty pathetic. Ask anybody that has been in a combat situation, for real, if they can identify an adversary. I think they would probably say, and there's a lot of ex-vets that would agree with me, that you have no idea what it's like to face an adversary unless you've faced one. In some way, shape, or form. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a war. It could be on the streets. It could be a rough neighborhood. It could be gang members accosting you. It could be police accosting you, threatening your life. A face-to-face confrontation, which you either have to seize control of or be a victim. You either have to seize control of the moment or be a fucking victim. You get my drift? It's a harsh reality, but it's a true reality. It's a reality that is facing mankind today. Humanity as a whole. There are predators that are meaning you harm and are causing you harm and are causing your children harm. Well, let's talk about the children for a minute here. Let's talk about the harm that comes to children. And we can talk about it in a general sense, as far as like when there's a war going on and collateral damage and that type of thing, or we can talk about it in specific senses where it's not a war, but it's a personal one-on-one thing, if you get my drift, against children. meaning harm to them in some way, shape, or form, physically, mentally, or spiritually, with emphasis on the physically. How do you feel about that? So we're talking about aggression, we're talking about invasion, and we're talking about penetration of their spiritual, mental, or physical being. And you don't think that that's happening right now if you look around the world? Are you at Disneyland? This has been going on for a long, long time. And there's a saying, the Kalika saying, the Kalika warrior saying, or the saying from Kali, the goddess warrior energy of the earth, that one thing that will not be tolerated. See, Mother Earth, the planet, can tolerate taking blows to her physical being, like pollution and certain events like Fukushima and spreading of radiation in the Pacific Ocean in a massive degree that's still there and still doing damage. That's one thing, because Mother Earth will handle that. No problem. But that's my opinion. No problem for Mother Earth to handle that. Been around a long time. She created herself. But one thing that the Kalika warrior and the mentality of Mother Earth and the true motherhood, let's say, of Mother Earth, one thing she'll not tolerate is perpetration of evil against the innocents, children. Children, your grandchildren. Let's put this into perspective. Your children, your grandchildren. And so right now, the thing that I think that could make this more clear to people is that this will not be tolerated in any way, shape, or form. I don't want to go into this in too much depth because I think you get the drift of what I'm saying. So when you get into a confrontational situation, yes, you're protecting your life and your limb and your spirit and your soul, and you're fighting to the death. But we're all connected and we're all humanity, and we were all children at one time. And children sometimes experience things they shouldn't when they're younger, any number of different things, including physical violence, or the way they were raised by moronic people that call themselves parents or whatever. And I'm not saying everybody's like that. There's some very beautiful families and parents out there, but I'm saying is that children go through a lot in life as it is, just growing up, adapting to the societal bullshit. But when you get a situation where, let's say, children are being forced, and I'm talking about in any area, including medical, anything that is forced upon them or into their bodies, before they have a decision to make up their own minds about that, is if it's being forced upon them and it's possibly life-threatening and just one child dies, I'm talking just one child here, because that's all it takes. If one child dies because of some kind of forced procedure, that's one too many. That is one too many. Be on notice, you people that are doing this. Be on notice. The destruction of the innocents and the innocent ones. Innocence. Being in that childlike state of mind of innocence and having unimaginable horrors perpetrated on your psyche and on your physical being. As we're seeing now. Now, if that doesn't arouse the warrior in you, if that doesn't piss you off and make you hate, and hate is a good thing in a certain context. You hate bad things. That's okay. That's not a quote-unquote sin. That's the most ridiculous thing. Anger is not a sin. That's just the false narrative that has been perpetrated by religious overlords to make you feel guilty about being a human. It is not a sin to have anger. It is not a sin to hate. Okay? It is a natural emotion of the human anthropos, or the human animal, which is an animal just like any other animal and senses threat to their young or to themselves. That's why I can't tolerate for a minute these so-called truthers, and I had an exchange with one today, because I do write different people, and one has responded, and we have had somewhat of a conversation. Short ones, one-liners. Today I got told to go fuck myself. When I called to the attention, and here's what I wrote this person. In the title, in the email, I said, what, no Rittenhouse covering of the Rittenhouse verdict? And then in the body of the letter, I proceeded to say that how could they call themselves a patriot? How could they call themselves a patriot or a warrior for not devoting or even mentioning? Here they have this platform with thousands of people on it, and they're calling themselves patriots. Get this. And they're calling, they're saying that they stand up for patriotism. And the biggest case of possibly the last 2 years concerning patriotism and self-defense, the case of the Rittenhouse debacle, and they are going to say, as what they're claiming themselves to be, truth warriors and all this, that they're not going to devote at least 20 minutes or 10 minutes out of their little spiel that they do, their little mindless circle jerk that they do. They're not going to mention one of the biggest triumphs at least momentarily, over the communistic or Naziistic, whatever you want to call it, istic gun control, and trying to put people that are defending themselves, they're not going to comment on that. So I told this guy, I said, don't call yourself a patriot when you can't even address or even mention, or any one of you truthers, and he's in this truther movement and they all know each other, so I'm sure the word will get around. And I hope it does. And without mentioning the guy's name, you'll probably know when I say this, just because you're a boxer doesn't mean you're a warrior. Just because you've been in the ring and a boxer doesn't mean you're a warrior. That is his main claim to fame. So if he thinks that he's a warrior just because he gets in the round and people punch each other stupid in the head, if he thinks by any stretch of the imagination that makes you a true Kalika warrior, think again, brother. Think again. Being a true warrior is standing up, not entertainment. It's not entertainment. It's not about you making a living or having a good solid income and being able to jet set around to different cities and have fun. That's not what it's about, bro. I know, man, once you come out of obscurity in a sense, and let's say you get 100,000 followers on YouTube, all of a sudden you're a big guy. Or girl, or gal, or whatever, whoever it is. When you get that many followers, it's like the immediate thing that comes into your mind is like, oh yeah, well, I must be pretty good here. Shit, look at all the people following me. That's empty. It's fucking empty. Get it through your head, get it through your skull, you people. It's not about sitting around watching a show like a circle jerk, mentally jacking off, with words and ideas and concepts that have no fucking meaning whatsoever. Whatsoever. These people really, really got to do some soul searching and start thinking about, what am I putting out there that is truth? What am I inciting people to do? Am I inciting them? Or I won't even use the word inciting. I'll use the word admonishing, or you're a leader. You got thousands of people. What are you conveying to them? Passivity? Sit on your ass and wait for somebody else to take care of it? Or are you promoting taking the bull by the horns and doing what needs to be done? It really gets to me. It really does get to me that so many people are following these numbnuts. It's like the old reality shows, reality that wasn't really reality, acting. Oh, this person lives on an island and they do this, and they're the survivors, man. What a sick concept, really. The reality show, because that's exactly what they're, when these people go on there and they talk about all the bad things that are happening and God wins and we'll get through this, but we got to, just this narrative, this endless narrative, on and on and on ad nauseum. Who's doing the bad things, who the bad guys are, all the vicious things they're doing. But yet offering no solution, as I have said before, no solace, no solution on any level. Let's just talk about offering people a solution on a level of empowerment and well-being. And feeling empowered to take the bull by the horns and do what needs to be done. Not sitting on your ass. I can't stress this enough. If you're going to get a platform and have thousands of people, encourage them in the right way. Urge them on to have courage, encouragement. Urging them on to have courage. That's what that means, encouragement. Now, is this stuff they're doing out there, yakking all day about how bad things are and taking their little trips and getting people's money, is that encouragement? Is that offering any kind of real hope? When the real hope lies within the people, how about stirring that up? Stir that pot a little bit. Seriously. It's getting to the point where you people that have that platform and are not putting out the right message as far as the big picture, the meta-narrative, the whole ball of wax, and not promoting idealistic, Looney Tune type good guys running around in white suits. Fairy tale land. Fairy tale land. Buy into that and see where the fuck it gets you. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. The people in America have no idea as to what the hell they're actually facing. They don't have a clue. They will never know until the shit is upon them. Like it is with people in other countries, in Australia and Austria and France and just around the world. Those people stand up. They get out in the street. They unite. They have a common bond. It's called humanity. Oh, but no, let's not do that because there could be some kind of violence. And I've heard some of these jokers, and this one in particular, say, well, I never go to any kind of rally, or I stay out of harm's way, or I do this, or I do that. Okay, well, if you don't want to go, how about encouraging people to rally, even if you don't want to be there? Encouraging people to take up the sword of the Spirit. That'll be good for Christians. The spiritual weaponry of a spiritual warrior would be a better way of saying that, of course. Sharpen that sword and don't take any more shit and don't get involved in useless narratives that go fucking nowhere. The truth core, CORPS, the truth cores, it's like a military action on all kinds of levels. Okay? It's a real action. It's a real truth. Not truthers or phony patriots. The truth core. The core of the matter. Know the difference. Adios.